This is our third. this is our third part of the romantic relationship series. We started off talking about French. What's the first part?
Yeah.
Friendship.
Go to the next screen, please. Oh, friendship. Yeah, see, that's my message. Friendship, where it begins, then it moves to attraction. It begins at friendship, then it moves to attraction. And we talked about that, and you need to watch that. It's good stuff. And then after that, it moves towards intimacy. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Intimacy is the way to remember that word is by remembering into me, see. See into me. Intimacy. And intimacy is having a deep or unusual knowledge of. That's what the dictionary says. Unusual. Why unusual? Because it's not the kind of stuff that you reveal usually when you're being intimate. It's also deeply personal, private, or secretive stuff when you're being intimate. And we're just talking about at the emotional level. In the old days, that word was used in the context to make known. As you all know, Adam knew Eve, right? How many of you know what that meant? Adam knew Eve. Well, that's what intimacy means, to make known, to reveal. Deep intimacy, deep secrets, unusual information. And it's also, it's used as a euphemism because sometimes people don't want to use the three-letter word, you know. So they say intimacy. You know, we haven't been intimate for a while. Or, you know, are you intimate? Are you get it? You know, and so it's just it's a softer word for the three-letter word, right? And even in the clothing industry, they use it in an example where they say intimate apparel, because it's the kind of apparel that you would not wear in public. Right. It's the kind of apparel that you would only reveal to that special person. And so that's what intimacy is all about. It's about getting deeper and getting closer. Jesus said, there will be a day when you will worship me in spirit and in truth. You know what that means? That means that you're worshiping him intimately and honestly. Because to be intimate, there has to be honesty, by the way. You have to reveal things that are true. If you're deceiving, then there's no intimacy. But you start revealing things that are true. And things that are really sensational to the other person. That's what intimacy is. And that's natural. That's normal. I just want you to know that's absolutely normal. It's not abnormal for that to happen. It's the natural progression when there's attraction among the opposite sex. Okay? And let's see, what else about intimacy? The thing about it is, whether you like it or not, intimacy, we've already talked about the attraction where all the chemicals start kicking in and you start not being able to think properly, and we made a very good argument about that. Well, now you're in this drugged up stage, right, where you can't think clearly, you're making, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I figured God had to do it that way, or else there wouldn't be 6 billion people on the earth. I mean, no, really, some of you ladies just wouldn't have children if it wasn't for the drug that goes on, the chemicals that go on in the head. You'd just be like my wife, like, nope, no children, sorry. But then all of a sudden, everyone saw that little chemistry in the brain would go, and she'd be like, what children? Who cares? You know? Because I wanted children, and this thing works like a charm, just so you know. So anyways, and now you're moving into intimacy. So now you're starting to reveal these secrets and all these things. So now you got the drug thing going on. You got these conversations. And listen, mom and dad, don't fool yourself. Oh, I let my son and daughter chat, or I let them, text, and I let them talk on the phone, but I don't let them go out alone. Oh, foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you? Once you start building emotional intimacy, it's only a matter of time, and wild horses cannot stop a rendezvous. That's just the facts. I mean, have you ever seen, what is it, Rapunzel? I mean, before you know it, yeah, Tangled, that's what I see. People are like, no, I don't know what that is. I seen Tangled, though. It's a matter of time before that girl starts growing her hair longer. You're like, well, how come her hair's growing longer? Oh, I just like it. Watch out when she starts growing her hair longer. She's about to throw that rope over the window, and there's going to be some rendezvousing going on. So intimacy is something that's natural, it's very normal, but it's something you have to be very careful when you start treading in that arena. You got to know what you're doing when you start going in that arena. Now, there's another word I want to talk to you about. It's called information. Okay? Information is where you are gathering data, gathering facts, you're acquiring information. Now, I want to show you the difference between intimacy and information and how this works in this whole relationship thing. But I don't want to draw a very clear line because, you know what, the line is blurred. I mean, I don't think anybody has it wired and figured out how to do this thing 100% perfect because, you know, this thing is just messy by nature, okay? So information is where it's information that, for the most part, it's public. You know, it's you know, what are your values and what do you believe in and, you know, what do you know, what are your goals in life and how many, you know, children do you want to have? What's your vision for that? What things do you like? How are we compatible? You can gather information about a person. You're attracted to the person, and so now you want to gather information, obviously, right? And I say, and I'm going to make a distinction here because people say, well, you know, Adam and Ashley, you know, they went out with accountability, or who was it? You know, people were always around. How are you going to get to know somebody? That's a good question. You can get to know somebody with people hanging around. Hey, so what do you want? You know, what are you going to do in life? Are you in college? You have a job? You know, how much money do you make? Or maybe your dad can ask him. Whatever. You just gather information, and that's not, you know, like, I mean, that's not intimate information. And you want to get to know each other. When you want to get to know each other, that's when you get intimate, and you start getting on them phone calls. Right now, it's not about information gathering anymore. Now it's about, so, what are you doing right now? It's 2 in the morning, mind you. And you've been talking for a while. Or forget the phone, you're chatting. You know, chatting, all the inhibitions go away, right? You're like, what would you do if we could fly away into paradise? Where would you go? I ain't never seen so many people be such expert typists these days. These kids, and they do it with one finger. They type 100 words a minute with 2 fingers. Amazing. Totally mess up all the rules of typing class. Anyway, so you start getting into all this stuff like, you know, so what are you wearing? And, you know, and the voice starts, you know, starts getting a little breathy, you know, kind of like how Christian rock singers sing. I just want, no, I'm kidding. That was a low blow. Forgive me. Please delete that from the video. Forgive me, all the Christian rock singers. I'm really sorry. Anyway, so what happens is you're not gathering information anymore. Now you're starting to, you know, give intimate information. Like, so I just got out the shower right now. That's why I couldn't answer the phone. Oh. So I'm assuming you're still in your towel. You know, it gets like that. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff that, you know, that is unusual information, right? Yeah. And so when people say, I want to get to know you, what are you really saying? How many times are you going to ask what size shoe do you wear? How many times are you going to ask what kind of a job you're going to have? How many times are you going to ask, you know, tell me about your mom and your dad? I mean, there's only so much information you can get, right? What's your credit history? You know what I mean? Do you have a criminal record? You know, can I get your social security number? Let me look you up. That's not very romantic. It's stuff, you know. Oh, by the way, you know, do you have a criminal record? No, yeah. Well, what'd you do? Well, it was not a big deal. It just happened a long time ago. Okay, well, you just want to know. I'm not judging you. Just want to know. But see, that's different. You know, it's information gathering. So I just want to make that real clear here about this. I need to get to know them. Let me tell you something. I've been married for 27 years, and I'm still getting to know her. Come on. All right, go ahead. You can't get to know her or him all in one little dating experience, okay? Well, we've been together for 2 years, and I'm not ready for marriage yet because I need to get to know him. Yeah, and my name is Bozo the Clown. Yeah, well, I know what's going on in 2 years. You know him. And you're knowing him, and you're getting to know more and more. And you're so deep getting to know him that you're confused because you're like, I don't know if I want to marry him because I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, that's a big step. That's a really big commitment. You know, that's really, well, what about all the big stuff you're doing in your intimacy? Hello? Just want to throw that out there for free. With no charge, no expense. Okay, let's talk about some of the different methods that are out there in these romantic relationships. Let's start with the dating method, okay? The dating method is an American custom, and it is, for the most part, a non-committal romance. You know, it's just like, hey, let's go out. The dictionary says it's two people from the opposite sex. That's going to change, by the way. But for now, the dictionary says two members of the opposite sex. I'm serious. This is going to change. That go out for fun. Just for fun. For social reasons. And that's cool. That's not to say that people can't do dating all kinds of different ways. I'm telling you what the dictionary says. In a dating situation, there's no need for an intention to marry. You can just go out for the heck of it, you know. For example, have you ever gone out with somebody who, you know, was cute, good looking, fun, right? And maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people you went out with. But then if someone were to ask you, would you ever marry that person? Heck no, never, never. I mean, she's beautiful, she's fun, but she ain't got nothing in between here. I would never marry her, right? Or I'd go out with him, but man, he's got so many ladies, so many women, I would never marry him. So see, dating doesn't need the intention for marriage. You don't need to be like, well, this could be a possible candidate. No, you don't have to be a possible candidate to go on a date. Would you agree with me? And that's how dating kind of works, right? I mean, you could be like 14 years old. That's not a candidate for marriage at 14 years old. I don't care what you say. There's no way you're going to know what kind of man he's going to turn out to be. Like, oh yeah, let's go on a date. I'm 14, you're 14, let's get on my bike and let's go cruising. You know? But they're not would you ever marry him? I mean, would you marry him? Heck no, I wouldn't marry him, man. He can't even, you know, change his diapers. I mean, he's a little kid. He's always, you know, whining and crying. Heck no, I'll marry a man one day. You know, and that's how dating works, okay? No accountability is required. You just go out on a date, take a girl out, you know, go wherever you want. You know, go behind Walmart, wherever, you know, make out. You know, take a trip up to Lover's Lane, up in the hills, wherever. You just do whatever you need to do. You know, go down to the, you know, the sleazy 6 or the easy 8, whatever. You do it however you want. And it's just, if you don't know about it, it's okay. Good for you. You don't know about those places. So 1995, but wait, you get cable and HBO and it's all, anyway. So, but dating is where you have time alone, and that time alone that you have leads to that intimacy is what we were talking about, right? And it is, out of all the methods, it's the one that puts you most vulnerable to sexual temptation. Now, I know there's people out there that say that I go out on dates and I don't do that. That's fine for the 1% that are out there, okay? And if you're offended by that, hey, guess what? Don't be offended. You're the 1%. You're like the cream of the crop. But the rest of us, 99% of us, when we go out on dates and we go out alone and we're getting intimate and we're attracted, I'll speak for the guys. I won't speak for the ladies, okay? But for the guys, for the most 99% of us, we're very, very vulnerable, okay? That's just the nature of the beast. So anyway, now when Christians do this, they are usually very secretive if they're sexually active. That's just, does anybody agree with me on that? Yeah. When Christians date, they're usually like on the hush-hush, right? They're like, hi, pastor, God bless you, and they drive off alone, you know? After evening service, bye, God bless you. Hey, God bless you, brother. They come to youth group together, they leave youth group, and they're like, God bless you, goodbye. Would you agree with me that when Christians are dating and they spend a lot of time alone, they're usually secretive when they're having sexual activity, right? But the world, they're not like that. They're like, you know, hey, party over here. This is how we do it. What's up, girlfriend? That's how the world does. They don't have any shame, okay? That's the dating method. Now, the courtship method, it's an old English custom, and in those days, the couple would meet in public places, or the gentleman would come to the woman's home, and they would sit and they'd converse, and they'd have, you know, social conversations, and they would do that because they were looking for a spouse. This guy would go court a lady because he's like, I'm looking for this. She may not be the one, but I'm going to investigate because I'm looking for a wife. See the difference in dating? I ain't looking for no wife, man. I'm just looking for some fun. I want to go out with some hot girls. That's all dating's about. Or I just want to have a great time. I want to have a good dinner, whatever it is, right? So courtship has an intention, whereas dating doesn't, generally speaking, okay? Now, I know there's people that say, well, I do godly dating. That's fine. You can put adjectives and adverbs and suffixes and prefixes, and you can, add, modules and components and twist it and fix it and do whatever you want. You can call it a pink elephant. I'm just telling you the two concepts, all right? Are you with me? Yeah. So you call it whatever you want. So in the courtship method, the intention was to gather information. Now, even in courtship, obviously, people would go off the boundaries. Like I said, it's hard to draw the line. But intimacy was supposed to be inappropriate in a courtship. If the gentleman was sitting in the courtyard or at the woman's house, and he was to say, hello there, my dear. So, top of the morning to you. What a wonderful morning, and isn't it such a wonderful sunshine, and the dandelions look so beautiful. They remind me of your hair and how beautiful you are. How art thou so blessed? So tell me, what is your goals in life? And by the way, can I get your digits? See, that wouldn't happen. See? So, what do you want to do later? He wouldn't do that. It would be a lot more appropriate of a conversation, right? Yeah. And it wasn't intimacy. Now, I'm not saying that, they didn't, get, yo, check it out, girl. Come here. Ain't nobody watching. I'm just saying that was the way it was supposed to be, okay? And they already knew up front that there was to be no premarital sex. There was to be no sex before the marriage. That's how courtship worked. Okay? Then there's the betrothal. This was a Jewish custom. In the betrothal custom, the way the Hebrew tradition goes is that they would, live in this little community, and a lot of times everyone in the community were probably your relatives, right? And so the dad would send somebody to go to another community where maybe his cousin or brother lived with his whole, 25 wives or 25 kids or whatever, all his cousins and relatives, and they knew that they lived like our tribe lived. So I'm going to go find me a girl who believes like we believe for my son. And then they'd go and get her and bring her over here. And, of course, just so you know, even in prearranged marriages, the girls had to, approve. And the guy wasn't going to be like, oh, thank you, Father, for bringing me this ugly girl. No, that how it went down. It was abused. History does record that there were all kinds of, bad intentions and wrong motives why they married people because of power and money and, whatever it was. Or maybe a woman married a crazy-looking guy because she was getting old, and who knows when the next guy was going to come around. So there was all sorts, but I'm just saying it wasn't like you think where everybody was forced to be miserable, okay? That did happen, however. So what happened is once there was this attraction thing, hey, wow, yeah, I think I'll do this. We know their values. Information was pretty basic. Hey, this guy is who he is. We know his family. It's how they believe. It's how he does things. And so they would make a marriage covenant, and it would be ratified, and they'd be married. But they wouldn't have a wedding till about a year or two later. So in that time, the man would get, prepare a home and get stuff together so that he could then have the wedding day. And he'd put down some money. He'd hook up some money for her, some money for the pops. There was a lot of money going around. It showed a lot of intention. How many of you know that where your heart is, there will your treasure be also? Have you ever married, don't raise your hand. Have you ever married a guy or went out with a guy that was stingy and cheap? 1 minute he's in love with you. The next minute you're married to the guy. And man, anything you want and need, he's just cheap and selfish and all this stuff. I'm telling you, that's not good. My wife, even sometimes when it's she just asks me, she goes, I want to go do a competition in Bermuda. And I'm not everybody can afford that. I understand that. But I'm like, hey, yeah, go for it. You go for it. Praise God. I didn't make that face, okay? But, you gotta show her some worth, all right? Don't drive the nicer car and let her have the broken down car. Give her the nicer car, you know what I'm saying? Put some value on her. All right. And if you're like me, you're just too lazy to go give her the credit card, All right. So anyway, in the betrothal method, they'd get married, and guess what would happen? They would separate, woman. So then they would, today women are not allowed to speak. No, I'm kidding. So they would separate, and they would begin to see God. See, the intimacy factor was directed towards God. Because for a year or so, there was no interaction. I know that's a little bit, extreme. That's why I say this is hard to apply in current times. because we live in a melting pot. You know, you can't go, I mean, where do you go to find somebody of like values? You know, you don't know who's who. I mean, you can be in the same church, and we got like 14 different value systems here going on here. We got people in here that are probably gay. You know, we got people, I'm not joking, that happens in church. Did you know that? Yeah, and they love God. You know, there's people that are gay, there's people that are in fornication. Last night you was doing the wild thing. There's people here that are courting, but not really. There's people that are dating, but really. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on in church, you know. There's people that, you know, think it's okay to listen to music that talks about murder and rape and all that. And there's people that think that don't. There's people that think that God is, you know, whatever. It's just all over the place. But see, so it's hard to apply that in these times. Actually, because of these times in this culture, you got to do some serious investigating. Because you can't just say, oh, I know how that, you know, like if you know a family really well, you know the values. But guess what, today? Just because you know a family and a mom and a dad doesn't mean that kid follows the family values. I mean, there are some families like my family, you pretty much know what my kids believe, you know what I mean? But there's some families like godly Christians, ministers, pastors, whose kids are the sons of Eli. You know what I mean? Because the parents let them live like the devil, so you don't know. Okay? So anyway, so the couples would separate and they would begin to seek after God. And the intimacy energy was directed towards Him. And they would begin to seek His face and prepare themselves. Like Queen Esther did before she approached the king. She prepared herself for a year just for one night with the king. She prepared herself. She bathed herself in oil. She softened her skin. She made herself pleasing and prepared for that day, for that wedding day. And during that time, the man and the women are tested. In those days, it was just the women, but still, there was a test. In other words, they were married. It was a covenant, but at the consummate or at the wedding feast, she had to still be chaste. And if she wasn't, he could you know, be free from that covenant. And there was no premarital sex as in courting. No hips, hands, or butts about it. No premarital sex, period. So, in this kind of an arrangement, this is a picture of how Jesus does it with us. Jesus marries us, and then there's going to be a wedding feast in another day. All right. See, we don't have the wedding feast. We're the bride, and He's the bridegroom for another day. Yeah. But we're still married, and He's faithful. Yeah. But some of us are going to show up on that wedding day with spots on our dresses. Not because you have failed and fallen and, you know, because everyone does that, but because you didn't understand His grace and His forgiveness, and you didn't walk in that power. Yeah. There's people here today that will not ask God for forgiveness for what you just did because you're tired of asking for forgiveness. See, the only difference between me and you is that I sin more than you, but I'm forgiven because I don't give up, and you gave up a long time ago. So we're going to end up on the same wedding feast, and you're going to be all dirty with nasty looking. I'm going to be wearing my white wedding garment. Be like, and you can be like, hey, how come he's getting to get married? He's worse than me. He's even a pastor. Because I ask for forgiveness every time. Because I know my daddy loves me. Because I know that he forgives me. Well, that's just abusing His grace. Call it what you want, but thank God for His grace. Yeah. Well, isn't there a limit? His mercy endureth forever. I'm only living for, 100 years. I don't need forever. You gave up last week. You gave up last year. So I just want to throw that out there just to make that real clear. So anyway, what happens is that then comes the wedding. So guess what? It's like you're being saved now. You're accepting Christ. You got to keep working on this thing. I'm not saying that you're saved by works. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you got to keep on, you don't think temptation's coming around the corner? You don't think you got to learn one more new thing so that you can live better? How many just learned something today? Like, oh, wow, ding dong. Now I can live better because now I have information. Yesterday I was teaching on a subject about wrong friends and wrong relationships for 3 hours. And I was talking about slandering and gossiping and all the definitions. All of a sudden, a group of little girls went around saying, hey, we're going to stop doing this. Would you forgive me? I'm sorry. And all this drama went on because they learned one new thing. Yeah. But there's people here that will come to my 30-minute sermon on Sunday and the rest of the week go and watch all the stuff. I mean, we all do it to some degree, right? Watch stuff and listen to stuff and get involved in stuff. And then a 30-minute little snippet of God's Word, and then we're filling ourselves with garbage all week long. That is not how you're going to be a growing a Christian, to be that holy person. Yeah. And so the same thing goes on in this more romantic relationship. Once you get past the attraction stage, the friendship attraction, the intimacy, you get to that intimacy, now it's time to really prepare yourself for marriage. Prepare yourself before God, because you are about to enter, potentially, into the most wonderful, most difficult thing of your life. If you think you can slay dragons, you ain't slayed nothing until you conquer a woman. And let me tell you about it. The difference between a woman and a dragon, okay? It's what they wear. No, I'm kidding. No. The difference between a woman and a dragon, there's a lot of similarities. They both breathe fire. Ha. No, but the difference between a woman and a dragon is that when you slay a dragon once, he's dead. But when you conquer a woman, you conquer her, right? You're like, yeah, I'm the man. She's just like all jello in your hands. Oh, wow, you're so romantic. You're so cute. And you're just like feeling all this ego going on, right? And then the next day, it's like, hey, what's up, baby? Come here. She's like, no. You come here. Remember yesterday? Remember the box of chocolates? I ate them. They're gone. You got to conquer her all over again. And you want to know the problem with most men? They only want to conquer her one time. And they're like 20 years married. They're like, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her is that you don't understand that you have to do this thing every day. I was watching this movie this weekend. Ceci, what was the name of that movie? It was this girl with, what's that guy's name? Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler. The 50 first dates. Man, my heart was broken for this guy. Us guys, we stick together like that. My man did a pretty good job of winning over this girl. Like, he was doing really good, right? And then the next day, she'd forget who he was, because she had this, like, amnesia thing that in 24 hours, she'd just, like, forget everything from yesterday. So he'd be like, what's up, girl? And she's like, who are you, weirdo? And he had to start the wooing process all over again. Could you imagine that? How many of you could handle that for 50 dates? All over again. And so he'd do it over and over and over and over and over. But see, here's the key, though, that I pulled out my little, taking notes, right? My man was getting good at this after 50 times. But he was rolling up there with his eyes closed like, what's up, girl? And working it. And next thing you know, I mean, before you know it, he was married to her, in bed with her, wake up in the morning, and like he almost got, she wakes up and this guy, he got that far, right? But that's the thing about the betrothal thing and the God thing, is that you're building up to that wedding day. You're growing. And you know what I love about betrothal is that it prepares you for the marriage beyond that. Because that's how you're going to have to live. Always chasing your lover, always winning your lover. See, what I don't like about American way of dating and marriage is that you date, you get yours, and then you get married, and then the guy just says, okay, I'm done. And there's no more romance. He stops opening the door, whatever. He just stops winning her. And it's like, how do they switch so quick? I think this betrothal thing trains you to not do that. So that's just my concept. So how you do it, you need to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, whatever. I'm just telling you the three relationship styles that are out there. I'm not telling you which one to go after. Obviously, betrothal would be practically impossible, maybe. Unless he's a prince from Wales, or whatever. The dating thing is probably more likely what you all do, but you probably need to throw in a little sprinkle of courting. I don't know how you do it, but the bottom line is know that accountability, intimacy, information, you got to juggle that properly and keep your purity. Keep your purity, okay? Let's look at the progression of intimacy. Let's say we're in this thing, okay? And by the way, side note, okay? We got couples here that did it all sorts of ways, okay? Some saved the kiss, some didn't, some got a peck, some, took it a little bit. And in the cases where they kept their purity, the bottom line was this, that a lot of the successful couples that we have is when they begin to get into that intimacy, boundary, they already knew that they wanted to get married. We have a young couple right now over here in our congregation, young couple. My man was in love with his girl. We knew about it, and then flies her in. All of a sudden, she's in our church. Like, hey, who's it? That's the girlfriend I've been talking about. Okay. So we're like, all right, you know. And then he's married to her like a few days or a week later. That's a man that had intentions. That's a man that knew what he was doing. That's a man that had focus. Okay? Now somebody might criticize, oh, wow, he's so young, you know, impulsive. Call it what you want. But what about these guys that go around dating, got no focus, no goals, ain't ready to go out and, you know, this man was like, I'm getting me an apartment, give me a job, give me my woman, give me my car, you know. Yeah, I'm a man. Then you got these weenies running around like, well, you know, I want to date her, but, you know, I'm not sure right now. You know, one of these days I'm going to get a job, and, you know, getting an apartment's kind of rough right now. And like, man, don't drop him like a dead potato. I don't care how sweet and how beautiful he looks. No. No, no, no. I mean, it's a dead potato. It's a cold and a dead potato. If he was a hot potato, keep him. They're hard to hold on to, so somebody's going to get it. So let's look at the progression of once you're in this intimacy thing. You may not agree with me, but when you're with your lover and you're getting intimate, I can't explain why there are these magnets inside of our lips. I don't know what it is. But for some reason, we just, you know, you're looking at your girl and she's looking at you, and some, it's just like, hey, yeah, you're so beautiful eyes, you know. I mean, you might even be fighting like, no, Jesus, no. You know. James 1:14 says that every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. When lust is conceived, it brings forth sin, and when sin is finished, it brings forth death. This is a natural desire within the body. It happens. And the first thing you do normally when you go out on a date is what? You're going for the kiss, yes or no? Teenagers, I've had this go south on me. I do this in seminars, and the kids go, no, we don't even kiss. I don't even know her name. They do this all the time. Okay? But if you're normal, you usually start off with first base. In the old days, in the archaic days, we used to call it first base. Okay? You need to watch sports. You don't do a home run. You don't hit the ball and then I'm here. No. You have to go to first base, second base, third base, home. Not I'm here. No. No, 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 no. I know this is going on. I know I'm not that old, but this is not good. Stop it. First base, kissing, all right? And even though we're American, for some strange reason, everybody kisses according to the French tradition. Okay, let's keep moving. See, here's the problem with kissing, okay? It's not necessarily a problem. It's a good thing. How many agree kissing is a good thing? The problem is that, yeah, and I hear people, well, I'm just a goodbye peck. It doesn't end up in a peck, though. It usually ends up in this French traditional type of system that they got going on in France. Just be American. Why you gotta... And when you think about it, it's kind of nasty. I mean, for real, you know? I mean, by the way, excuse me, before we do this, do you scrape the back of your tongue? What kind, you know, like, do you know what guys eat, the kind of junk the guys eat? Like, can you please go to the bathroom and brush your teeth and use Listerine, but the original kind. Can't find none. Use Gaston, alcohol. Because I don't want no sugar and sweet masking this thing. Just kill whatever's in there. And then they start doing it. Why would anybody want to swap spit? Why? There's only one reason why. Anybody know why? You know, I haven't seen this much excitement in church, Dion, in a long time. We might have revival. I should just stay on this thing here. We could have a revival breakout today. Passion, because passion does that. Anyway, so anyway, the only reason why people would do such a thing is because they like it. Because it's pretty gross. And what is it you like about it? This is where I'm going here, okay? Because I'm only going here because a lot of Christians are like, well, we just kiss. We don't do anything wrong. We just kiss. Okay. So were you like a cold, dead corpse? Because the last time this 46-year-old man kissed his girl, it still felt good. As a matter of fact, just the other day, I hugged my wife. We were laying in bed, I hugged her. I just held her. And the poor girl, she was just like, she's like, all, and I'm like, and I wasn't, I was just staying there, just hugging her, and she's just kind of, prepping, and I just wanted to hug her. And she was confused. She was like, what's going on here? My point is, moving right along, because I know, you get it. My point is that even at my age, kissing still feels good. What about at your age? At 16 and 12, because 12-year-olds do this now, right? 16 and 21 and all that other stuff. So don't give me this Christian caca that we don't do anything wrong. We just kiss. Let me tell you something. So all of a sudden, here's how it plays out, right? Right? And all of a sudden, listen, we're talking chemistry here, biochemistry. This is not like spiritual. This is just like natural stuff. You could be wearing like a little blue bonnet, and you're like, the perfect little Sunday school kid, and been raised in your mama's home all your life, and you got this pretty little Cabbage Patch face, and next you know, you have the same chemistry as that girl wearing that red hot dress, okay? I just want you to know, wearing the makeup, okay? So don't let that little fake little bonnet, hey, everybody, praise the Lord. No. Okay? I know you're maybe a librarian, you got little goofy glasses, and you have your hair up in a bun. No, it don't matter. We know when your bun comes down and glasses come off, okay? We know. What happens is Star Trek kicks in. How does that song go? Doo-doo. How does Star Trek go? Doo-doo-doo. All of a sudden, this chemistry from here goes to here, goes to the hands, and all of a sudden the guy just like, beam me up, Scotty. And all of a sudden, you start to go where no man has been before. You start conquering places you've never been before. These hands take a life of their own. And then next thing you know, it turns into petting. It just happens. Normally, in most instances, can we get a screen up there, please? Can we get a screen up at the PowerPoint? The PowerPoint people. No, we need the petting one. Thank you. All of a sudden, in most cases, you don't do this, right? You don't do this. No. In most cases, you do this. And she knows if chemistry's kicking in somehow, okay? And next thing you know, these fingers start finding hilly and valley places for some reason. This is just the way it works. But the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19, your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. And you were bought with a price. Jesus shed his blood, bought your body with a price. Therefore, glorify your body and in your spirit, which are God's. He owns it now. He bought it. You're a Christian. You're a believer. And then in chapter 7, verse 1, he says, it is not good for a man to touch a woman. A man should not touch a woman. If you want to touch somebody, touch Spot, okay? Pet your dog. She wasn't made to be pet. Unless, in the in this stage. So let's move on. Now when that begins to happen, guess what comes next? And this is where you have to stop fooling yourself, and you have to stop lying to all of us and lying to yourself. I mean, I'm telling you, some of the most goofiest, nicest, most nerdiest people who try to play this card do not fool me, okay? Because it's human nature that if you get into this intimacy thing, it eventually ends up in fornication. And you want to know something? I hear people say, oh, it's God's will. He's the one for me. It's God's will, God's will. Listen, there's only one thing that's God's will, for you to abstain from fornication. That's God's will. You want to know what God's will is about your lover? Stay away from him. That's what God's will is. That's what the Bible says. Quit trying to reinvent stuff that ain't in there. So that you would learn and know how to possess your body unto sanctification and honor. That's what this is all about. Sanctification and honor. And for those of you that have been there and done that, you know this is true. It's these people out there that lie to themselves, lie to us, lie to everybody, and say, no, we can do this, we can handle this. No, no one can handle this. This is not something you can handle. Intimacy is something that when it begins to happen, you need to know right away, is this going to end up is this a potential marriage or not? Because if it isn't, get out. And if it is going to go to marriage, then proceed forward. Amen. And that's the bottom line. And if you don't know, if you're not sure, and you're going out with somebody, well, you know, I'm not really sure, I'm not really ready. Then what are you doing going out with him or her? You shouldn't be going out. Okay, quick definitions. In case you didn't know this, a lot of times people don't know this definition. It is called fornication. Fornication, anybody never heard the word fornication? Don't be embarrassed, raise your hand. It's an old English word. Who has never heard the word fornication? Okay, everybody knows it. It is sexual intercourse between partners who are not married to each other. The reason why I like the King James is because it's appropriate, it sounds appropriate. So let me give you an example. So you know how the guy says, hey baby, I want to make love to you. I want to make love to you because, well, we're not married. Well, but it doesn't matter. That's just a piece of paper. Well, sign here, fool. No. I want to make love to you. First of all, love is God. God is love. Outside of God, there ain't no love. And fornication ain't love. So next time, you're going to go say, hey, baby, let me make love to you. Next time, say, hey, baby, let's fornicate. Let's just call it what it is, okay? Would you like to fornicate? Nobody wants to fornicate, you know what I mean? Because it's exactly what it is. It's fornication. All right. Here is a diagram that I will conclude with. All right. Here's how it works. You could choose either the intimacy or the information, right? So the attraction, intimacy, petting, that's the progression, how that goes. Or attraction, information, and commitment. So the little stairs represent the steps that you would take. Okay? And then, so let's say you're doing it the right way. You're attracted, so now you're going to gather information. You're going to be cool on the intimacy, which means you're going to have to set some boundaries physically and time alone and all that, right? You got to figure that out. I'm not going to figure it out for you, okay? I'm not some weirdo chasing you down. You got to figure it out for yourself. You got to be a girl. If you can't do this for yourself, then you shouldn't even be getting married anyways. Okay? You got to be responsible for your own actions. Go ahead. And you're going to have integrity before God and before people, all right? And I suggest you stay in public places and all that, okay? And you avoid the conversations, and there's no point in talking on the phone for long periods of time about what? About what? I know what, okay? Or you can get attracted and just jump right into intimacy, start sharing stuff you shouldn't be sharing, you know, stuff that you would not want anybody to hear, stuff that has to be done in private, and then before you know it, you're going to the next step, all right? So, next slide. Either way, you end up at the point of no return. Whether you are doing it the right way or the wrong way, you get to the point of the heated collar point. Got it? It's getting hot in here. Do we got a song like that? It's getting hot in here. No, we don't. Okay, it's getting a little hot under the collar stage. It happens to everyone, all right? Goofy people, cool people, everybody, okay? Once you get to the point of no return, obviously, if you're like my man I just talked about, he got into the point of no return, and next thing you know, he got married because he hit the point of no return. My man hit the point of no return so quick, he's got it like that, that he couldn't even have a church wedding, which is okay. The justice is a minister, okay? We honor and respect that. My man said, like you heard Devin, he said, man, I had to do this but they were prepared for that. The other guys who's not prepared, they're just into this intimacy thing, sharing all this stuff, doing all this touching stuff. They get to that point of no return. They don't have no commitment, no clue, nothing going on, no plan, and they get to the point of no return. And then, next slide. Married or not, here we come. It just happens. How did we end up in this situation? How did this happen? How did this happen? And they sit there, especially if they're Christians. I had no intention of this happening. I didn't plan this. Oh, stop the bull, please. Okay. And the next slide, marriage or fornication. You do it the right way, it ends up in marriage. The timing is right. Hey, I got married on August 27th, 1983. And guess what? If I would have got married on August 28th, 1983, or August 27th, 6 p.m., 1983, it would have been a bad deal. But I got to the point of no return. I planned it all out. We got engaged. We did the thing. And boom, we were able to have a marriage. And the Bible says in Hebrews 13:4 that marriage is honorable in all, and the bed is undefiled. It's a good thing. But whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge. And here's two pictures of the bed of marriage and the bed of fornication. Here's two pictures of the bed of fornication and the bed of marriage. There we go. See, when a married couple come together in physical intimacy, they become one flesh, according to Mark 10:7-8. Guess what? When two unmarried people come together into the bed of fornication, guess what happens? They become one flesh also. So, see, the thing about it is that when you start getting intimate emotionally with your words and your revelations, you begin to develop a soul tie that is very difficult to break. And because it is the nature of the human being to desire to know your one you love to their depths of their deepest, innermost thoughts, to possess every part of their being, to love every hair on their head, every square inch on their body. It is the nature of a man in love. He wants to engulf everything, every thought. The woman wants to hear every intention, she wants to know her man. It's natural. And that's what intimacy does. That's why you can't really say, I need to get to know him, because there's no end to getting to know him. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and it gets to the point of physical intimacy. And you become one. And you know what the problem is? This is why God invented marriage. Because marriage is simply a covenant. It's a promise that you keep. Here's the issue. The issue is that if you get involved in this thing that is binding by physical nature, emotional nature, and you didn't make a commitment, and you didn't make a covenant, and you didn't prepare yourself to swear to your own hurt, then you have to walk away. And then you have to tear apart something that is one in the spirit. And you have to rip it apart, something that is so spirit and body, and shred it, like taking apart an atom. Is it an atom? A molecule? The way an atom bomb, you split the molecule, right? Boom! You destroy the family, the children, the next generation, the fiber of your country, the fiber of the church. That's what it's all about. If we put aside morality and what's right and wrong, put all that, the Bible, just put it all aside if you want. What you do is you damage a person. And now they're half a person. And now they got to go back to the beginning and be made whole, which is what they should have did in the first place. Now they got to find that love from the one who will never abandon them. Now they got to go find the lover they forsook a long time ago for a mere man or a mere woman. Because let me tell you something. When you go after Him first, and you build intimacy with Him, and you chase your lover, Jesus, even if that person ever hurts you or abandons you, you always have that love. You always have that complete love in you. You see what I'm saying? There'll still be consequences. And that's what it's all about. So you make the decision how you want to do it. Today I want to open these altars because I sense there are people here today that need a good cry. You need a good cry. Your heart's been divided. You gave your heart away. You're trying to find it again. You're thinking of a new relationship, but you got no love to give. You gave it all away. You gave all 100% of your life away. And I want to ask you right now to stand up wherever you're at. No judging here. Come over here and we want to pray for you. The altars are open. And if we could have people that would come and pray for these precious ones that are just, they're going to have a good cry. And I'm going to pray that you get healed, that you begin the process of wholeness from now on, in Jesus' name. And I'm going to prophesy over you. Because, you know, the good thing about the School of Hard Knocks is that, hey, we learn, right? And you always get another chance at life. You always get another chance if you're willing to put your hands in God. And I prophesy right now that you are going to have the most amazing marriage, the most amazing man, and you're going to look back and you're going to be broken for the rest of your life because you're going to know how faithful God is. Because when we are unfaithful, He remains faithful, always. Are there any men here that are heartbreakers, have been heartbroken? Get up here, men.